some burdens, I think you as a minister, me as a minister, people who are watching can be like, hey, I could tell that's too heavy. Let me carry that with you. Mm-hmm. But some I'm like, you know what? This is yours to carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in doing so, you're going to build up spiritual muscles that if I take this for you and carry it, I'll rob you of the muscles that you're going to need in the future.
Ooh, sheesh.
I'll get I come in and I steal your muscle.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
And man, I feel great.
Yeah.
But those muscles weren't mine. Those muscles were meant for you.
Wow.
And now I came in trying to be the hero, save the day, and I robbed you of the resilience of the future.
Yeah.
And that's not a service to you.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that's where I've really had to learn, like, Lord, this is their burden to carry. I'm going to listen. I'm going to show empathy. I'm going to show love. I'm going to give them tools and resources and coach them. And some am I going to walk through some stuff with for a month, a week, a year, maybe so. Some I will just have one conversation with. And I have to trust, like, Lord, you're developing something in them, some muscles they're going to need.
Yeah.
Help me not be so prideful that I think I have to rob them of that.
Hey, welcome to God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. I'm excited you're here. And if you're listening for the first time or you're back for another great episode, I want to first off thank you for joining us. I want to start by letting you know that your story and what you may be going through, they matter here, and you're not alone. So try not to worry about what chapter you're in, because if you trust God with your story, he's going to continue to breathe life back into it, as he has with so many other stories. So sit back with the community that cares about you and hopes that you feel God's love as well as see God's glory in men's real stories. So before we get started, you know what I'm going to ask you to do. Go ahead and do me a quick favor. I've never let you down. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up real quick. You'll be glad you did. Then if you haven't hit the subscribe button, know that we are now charging credit cards. I'm joking. No, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. It's free of charge. It will cost you nothing to click it now. So now that's out of the way, thank you for your support. Know that this podcast is nothing without you and the men who God has put it on their hearts to saying yes to joining me. Like today's special guest who drove all the way from Tennessee just to sit with me. And I believe that. And he'll also be speaking at the Charlotte Crusade tomorrow as well. But he believes in empowering everyday people to help their friends and neighbors who are struggling in the wake of painful experiences through his organization, Reboot Recovery. So I want to welcome our brother, Evan Owens, to the episode.
Yeah. I got to press the button. First off, that opening, I feel like I'm on, like, remember that old Delilah when she was like, how you all doing tonight? I was vibing with that intro, man. That was incredible. I was like, I gotta hire this dude to do like my he's like, you just like and subscribe. You're gonna be glad you did.
Yeah.
You definitely should do it. Now we're gonna switch to the smooth stylings of healing. You know, it's amazing, man.
That is. Yeah.
Anyway, but thanks for having me. No, I'm happy to be here, man.
Thank you. Awesome. No, I'm glad that, like I said, as I was saying, I'm glad you drove all the way down from Tennessee, because as you said, you'll be at the Bojangles Arena tomorrow, and I hope that you will be able to experience or enjoy some Bojangles. Hopefully, they will give you some Bojangles. This man has never had Bojangles.
I've heard they have biscuits.
Ooh,
something biscuits. Bowberry biscuits is somebody.
Okay, yes. We do have Bowberry biscuits. I was sitting here thinking, well, wait a minute. If we talking who has the best biscuit, that might be a toss up between Bojangles and the competitor. You probably had them before. You know, I'm throwing out way too many names here of different companies, but like, yes, they do have a great Bowberry biscuit.
They did not endorse or support this
podcast. Right. Not yet, at least. But no, I'm glad that we got the opportunity just to break bread tonight before we sat down.
And this man can straight up cook. I'm just telling you, some steak, some taters. It was amazing.
You heard it first here. So see what you guys have been missing out on.
Not just a podcaster.
Yeah.
Culinary genius.
Hey, I'll take it. I'll take it.
The taller, skinnier, darker Gordon Ramsay. Less swearing. Some swearing. No, I'm just kidding with you. I'm just playing.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just playing.
But no. Like I said, I'm glad you were able to drive down, not only just for God to continue to bring us together in the way he did, because we honestly just had a conference call today where you were like, yeah, well, look, if I lose you.
Happened to be there,
and it was like, wait, you're coming to Charlotte? Yeah. Like, look, what you doing for dinner? Like,
yeah, that was awesome. That was great, man.
So I'm glad it came together. So for those who were like, okay, so who is this guy? I'm going to give you an opportunity just to kind of give yourself just that intro of who you are, what you do in the community, or what you do as far as whatever you want to share.
Yeah, man. So my name's Evan Owens, and I'm married to Jenny Owens. I've got 3 boys, Noah, Asa, and Judah, in that order. They are all just incredible young men, growing up fast as weeds. It's crazy. Eating me out of house and home. We're going through milk like I mean, if there's a milk company that wants to sponsor the Owens family, I'm all about that.
Here it is.
But for the past really 15 years, almost 15 years, my wife and I have been helping people overcome trauma so they can embrace a brighter future. Started off with an idea of just helping some people in our own hometown of Clarksville, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville, but then began to scale where we started saying, hey, maybe there's more Evan and Jenny's out there, more people that want to help people heal from the wounds that have happened to them in their past.
Yeah.
And what if we could give them some systems and some frameworks to be able to do that? So that's been most of our life, is writing, teaching, speaking, and training people to facilitate Reboot Recovery courses all over the world. And Reboot Recovery is the nonprofit that we founded, the ministry that we built. And it's rebootrecovery.com if people want to check it out.
No, that's awesome. And you know, it's funny. We were connected by Noah Asher, and of course, when Noah like told me about you, and he was like, yeah, they've you know, they're great friends of mine, sponsors of the podcast, and I'm like, man, okay, I need to like understand. So as I got to know a little bit of what you guys do, I was like, wait, Noah, like, wait a minute, this is good. Like this is needed. Because as we were talking earlier, I was talking about how like I've always come from almost like a space where people didn't mix trauma and faith.
Right.
It was just like, okay, well, if you want to talk the trauma stuff, you're gonna have to go talk to somebody else, because that's not what we do here, and that's not how we do it. And so of course, it was like you had your space here, and then you had your space there, but they never intersected. So of course, I experienced additional trauma in the church communities I kind of grew up in, because they didn't create that space.
Yeah, it's interesting too, though, because part of that was what was taught to us, right? I mean, how many of us heard this at some point? Like, don't say something because you might say the wrong thing and make the situation worse. If you meet somebody who's hurting, the first thing you should ask them is, have you talked to somebody about this, right? That's what I was taught when I first got into this. I remember people saying like, hey, you know, if somebody's in crisis, ask them if they talked to somebody. Well, I mean, the funny part is they are talking to somebody. They're talking to you.
Right.
Like, that's the whole point. They're already talking to somebody. But number two is, I think it's interesting that we have separated mental health from spirituality, because if you think about it, trauma will always catalyze a conversation about faith. By necessity, when our lives intersect, so our definition of trauma is this: it's when our lives personally intersect with the brokenness of the world. That's what we believe trauma is.
Yeah.
So there comes a day, some of us, it's over many, many years of sort of the rose color washing away and us realizing the world's not the way it was meant to be. Others of us can pinpoint the exact moment that our lives changed forever.
Yeah.
But regardless, at some point our lives intersect with the brokenness of the world. And when that happens, it naturally creates questions in us that want to know, God, why is this happening? Why now? Why to me? Why are you picking on me? Why? And these why questions are at their core spiritual questions.
Yeah.
Like, they are at their core spiritual questions. And so I have found that you can't talk about trauma without addressing spiritual matters, because it's incomplete to do so. So it's unnatural to wonder why these things, like, it's a natural response to say, why is this happening? That's a searching response,
for sure,
versus to not ask that would maybe be unnatural. So we kind of remove some of the stigma around fearing that.
Okay. So you know what? And that's a great question, because I've always thought to like say, a lot of people have this inclination to say, you should never ask God why.
Right.
And I don't know what story that came out of. I don't know if they're referencing Job or who, but like, I recognize that you're right. It's almost like a knee-jerk reaction to be like, wait, God, why me? Like, why is this happening to me?
Right.
Do you feel like God has space for our whys in situations that we go through, that we are trying to figure out whether we believe in God or not, whether we prescribe to Him previously or
why
not?
Is where we all start searching, right? I mean, why is the beginning of searching. Now, I will say this. Why is a great starting point.
Yeah.
We cannot get stuck in searching why, because there's some things that we will never know why this side of heaven.
Yeah.
So, you know, what we encourage people to do is move on to how, what, and when questions, right? So why did my brother die? Why did my sister have this happen to her, this assault, whatever it is? You may not know those answers, other than we exist in a fallen world with hurt people who hurt other people.
Yeah.
Thus has gone on throughout time. That might be the only why you get. That's not a very satisfactory why.
For sure.
But a better question, instead of asking a why question, would be, how can I move on after this? How can I help people heal in spite of this? Or what can I do to encourage my sister now that she's been through this, right? When is a good time for me to approach my brother and talk to him about this? These questions, they're more helpful than why questions in the earthly sense because they have answers. Why questions don't always have answers. But starting with a why question is going to point you towards the person who does have the answers. It's going to point you towards the Lord. That's and good. So I say, like, yeah, ask him your why questions. Sometimes he's going to answer. Sometimes he's not. He's still good regardless.
Yeah.
But we have to start with that why question. I think not starting with it, I think misses out on the search. You think about in the garden. I know you talk about that a lot. God had to come and he's like, where are you, Adam and Eve?
Yeah.
And his where are you question, he didn't just mean physically. He meant like, where are you?
Ooh,
you know?
Yeah.
And notice they didn't come searching for the Lord in that moment. But what if they had? What if they had said, Lord, we sinned, and why are we now naked? Why are we now, right? It would be a whole different story if they said, like, Lord, why do I know good and evil? Why is it weird for me to be looking at my wife this way? Why do I desire her now instead of, the wife desire the husband? Why is it that the food has thorns? Why is it? They didn't ask any of those questions.
Right. Wow.
You know what I mean? So
that's heavy. Yeah. No, I never even looked at it that way.
So it shifted.
Sheesh. Thank you. So like, wait. So as I sit here and I'm like, wait a minute. With reframing the why from that space, when people get past the why, because I agree with you, I think it starts with the why. When people get past the why, I think why comes because people are looking for closure.
Right.
And in looking for closure, asking the additional questions
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I want you to finish the question.
Yeah, I was about to say, so in looking for closure, a lot of people are looking for answers to questions that they may never actually get, or they'll ask questions of like, why does this have to happen this way? I mean, I've been that guy who was like, okay, why this way, guy?
Yeah, man, there's so much to unpack here. Okay, so I don't know if we're always looking for closure. I think sometimes, yes, but I think sometimes we're looking for comfort. So let me give you an example. I'm stuck in traffic on the way here. And I see these cars, and they are pulling into the, what's that lane on the side of the road called? Like the shoulder? Or whatever.
Yeah.
They're pulling into the shoulder and straining their necks to try to see up ahead to see what's causing the traffic stoppage. Mm-hmm. Here's a question. Even if they know why, does it actually help them that much? Really, they're still stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
They could say, 3-car pile up, a mile up the road. They're still sitting there. So the point is, it's like, But somehow it helps bring comfort knowing they're still in the traffic, but it brings comfort to know that now I know why I'm stuck in traffic, so I can accept it better. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Because now that I know there's a 3-car pile, but for some reason, if I don't know, I'm like, how long are we going to be here? What's causing this? All these 800 other questions come about. But I think if I can know, I'm here because of this, whatever. And this is where I think faith comes into play. Because I can say to the Lord, I don't need to know why I'm stuck here right now, but I'm trusting you're going to use it. And I'm trusting something good's going to come from it. And that's really where faith can reframe our trauma. And it can say, hey, throughout everything you're going through, we're going to find some recyclable material that can be repurposed for your life and for other people's lives in this. And that changes the conversation. And that's what I think Reboot is able to offer to people. Is we're able to say like, hey, right now you're in traffic. I can't tell you why you're in traffic. I can't tell you why you feel stuck in life. I can't tell you, but I can tell you there's something that God has you here for a reason, right? That you're here right now, that he's redeeming what seemed irredeemable. The second thing though, that you just talked about, I want to circle back to, my 5-year-old just had to have a bunch of shots. Might be the best way to describe it. We pray, Lord, tell us why. And we think that if he told us, it would be helpful. That's what we think.
Right.
My 5-year-old, if he gets a vaccination for mumps and rubella or whatever that vaccine is, measles, mumps, and whatever that MMR vaccine is, he's terrified of needles. If I go to him and I say, Judah, let me explain to you how vaccines work. See, what's going to happen is it's going to hurt you now. You're going to get this shot, but it's going to give you antibodies that are going to, in your body, be able to help fend off. It's going to help build your immune system so that when you're my age, you won't be dealing with measles or mumps, and you won't have to deal with the severe symptoms that could, in fact, kill you. But is he going to understand all that?
None of that.
It's not even going to be helpful to him in that moment.
Right.
Right? All I have to say is I know you're hurting. Climb up my lap. Let me comfort you.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can do.
Yeah.
Because even if I told him why, it wouldn't really help him.
For sure.
Right? So all I can say is like, climb up in my lap, let me comfort you. And I wonder how many times the Lord's like, even if I explain why to you, you wouldn't understand it right now. Climb up in my lap, let me comfort you. But then also you think about that vaccine in my son does what? It keeps him from something worse later on.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. But will he only appreciate that later on?
Yes.
Because in the moment.
That's right. It's painful in the moment. But what we don't know is what that's vaccinating us against, so to speak, in the future.
Right.
And I think that's the thing about when we go through traumas and pains right now, we don't really understand, like, this is hell on earth, this is terrible, this is whatever. Yes, but it's giving me some antibodies, it's giving me some immunity, it's giving me some ability that I'm going to be able to resist and fight back and be resilient against something in the future, or for someone else in the future. I'm going to be able to help them be that way.
Oh, that's good.
And I think that's where, again, that why question gets to be such an entrapping question if we're not careful with it. Again, great starting space. You don't want to get stuck there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So then that makes me wonder, has that always been your frame of thought when it came to like some of the things that you've experienced in life that you maybe walked through? Did you see it from that frame? And if not, how did you get to that point where that became your perspective?
Yeah, I think to a fault, I think I've always thought, Lord, if it's your will, this thing happens or it doesn't. So I've always trusted God in his goodness and his plan, which in some ways actually made prayer difficult for me. Something that's been an ongoing challenge for me in my faith journey is, if God's omnipotent, if God's all powerful, and if God's going to do what God's going to do,
right,
then why talk his ear off about it? Like if I already tell my kids, like, kids, I made up my mind, we're good. You know what that's telling them? Stop talking to dad about it. The decision's made. Right. So that's the way I've approached the Father sometimes, right? It's like, you don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear me yapping and complaining and talking to you about my day and how I'm feeling and all my struggles and, all this stuff, because you're going to do what you want to do. Yeah. And so that actually has been a challenge for me, where I've struggled with the why. So why with God, I've never really struggled with. Where I've struggled with why is when other people don't respond the way I wish they would. When other people have hurt me, when other people have let me down, when other people haven't lived up to the expectations that I've set, that's where I've really gotten stuck a lot of times, because I think what I want them to do is to become fully aware of how the wrong that they've done to me. Right. I want them to own it. I want them to see the world through the lens that I see it. I want them to repent, and I want them to come to me begging for my forgiveness. Right. Let me tell you the number of times that's ever happened. Right. 0.
Okay, but you wouldn't expect that from the Father, though.
It's 0. That's
right.
So it's different.
I got it. Okay, I get it now.
So yes, I don't struggle with why. I think a lot of people struggle with why from the Lord, like, God, why is this, whatever. I think I have maybe a simple faith or something where I'm just like, he owns the cattle of 1,000 hills. Like, that's it. He's the man, Yeah. And I think that's had a danger for me in my prayer time and in my earnestly seeking the Lord in prayer. But I think it's helped me in other ways. And then I'd say, again, my why struggles have been with people. That's where I had an old lady one time. It's crazy. This old woman came up to me. I was talking about something on I don't know where it was. And it wasn't a podcast. It was a panel or something I think I did. And this old woman comes up to me afterwards. And she says, Evan, she goes, my name is, and she told me her name. And she says, do you feel let down by people often? And I said, why do you ask that? Because I didn't even talk about this in the panel. Right. And she's like, I just want to know, do you feel let down by people often? She's like, I feel like God wants me to ask you that question. And I was like, matter of fact, yeah, I do. And she's like, you know why? And I thought she was going to have some like huge response about culture. Right. And she goes, because your expectations are too high. She goes, if you continually find yourself disappointed in other people, lower your expectations of them. And that was her whole advice. And I was like, that is the most discouraging advice I have ever heard, old lady. Where are you going, But the more I've thought about it is, I've had to start learning to accept people on their terms as opposed to on mine.
Right.
And I think in doing so, I don't get stuck as often in the why questions. I still do sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing battle for me. Is I expect people to want the same things that I want.
Ooh, I knew you were gonna go there. I was like, yo, I feel like
they don't.
Yeah.
Don't.
Or handle it the way you would.
Handle it the way I would.
Oh my goodness.
And I think I'm learning to be like, you know what, Lord, like I'm getting humbled, and the Lord is humbling me in teaching me that my way isn't always the right way, but more importantly, my way may not be the path that He has for them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to riff. I'm processing this in real time.
Yeah. No, that's
like my way might be the right way, but it may not be the path that He needs them to walk on right now to take them through what He needs to take them through.
For sure.
And so seeing God's long-term personal development plan, His performance improvement plan for me and for them.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm starting to be like, they're responding in a different way than I wish they would.
Right.
But Lord, I'm entrusting them to You, that You've got a performance improvement plan in place for them. You've got a personal development plan in place for them. And this path is the only path they can go if they're going to get there. And does it hurt me? And do I get hurt by that and sad by that? I do. And I don't know why You're taking them. Why can't they just take this much easier highway that I've already carved out for them? That's going to be great. Whatever. And sometimes God's like, it's not even about their path, Evan. I'm worried about you and your path. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think I'm just reassessing that. Maybe approaching it with just a little more humility and a little less judgment, a little more curiosity. So that's something the Lord's kind of currently working on me in this area of why when people let me down.
Yeah. Wow. No, I listen, I'm right here. I guess I could say I struggle with that a little bit too, of sometimes holding people to expectations that I would, or as this is the one where that was exposed to me when we dove into these things called love languages.
Yeah.
And I realized that what I thought were my love languages.
Yeah.
I was offering them to other people.
There you go.
Instead of like saying, well, no, that's what but you never even asked them what they, and
right.
So I realized, oh shoot.
I mean, I thought it was weird when you gave me 15 hugs downstairs, but I appreciated all 15 of them.
Hey, man, look. My love language is physical touch, all right, man? I didn't think you would notice, all right?
No, I'm just messing.
It's wild how I think that is a struggle of like you holding other people to the expectations that like why like I would have done this.
Right.
Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you respond that way?
And I think that's the root of forgiveness, or not forgiveness, of trauma, because trauma at its core thing, and it's taken me 15 years in this field to realize it, trauma at its core is primarily, above all else, a wound of betrayal. A wound of betrayal that we believed the world should be one way, and it's another. We believed God should have stopped or started one thing, and He didn't. We believe people should behave in one way, and they don't. All trauma ultimately boils down to a sense of, I feel betrayed because God put eternity in my heart, according to Ecclesiastes. He planted eternity in my heart. There's a voice inside of me that's always cried out, like it talks about in Romans, that we cry out, right? I think there's another verse, I don't know if it's Romans, it talks about we cry out as in childbirth, groaning for the renewal of creation. There's this voice inside of me that tells me like, this ain't it. Like there's something's off.
Yeah.
And Christian or non, we all hear that voice. And I think that's the root of trauma is I feel betrayed by this. I feel let down. I feel disappointed that life's not turning out, that life has not given me what I felt like I deserved.
Right.
And I think once we kind of come to terms with that root wound of betrayal and realize that Jesus fully empathizes with being betrayed, not just by Judas, not just by Peter, but by me.
Right.
I think then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the gospel makes so much more sense. That Revelations, that God has come to make all things new, not all new things. That
right.
He's not a God of replacement. He's a God of restoration. That He's restoring my life, and He's bringing out all those intricacies and scratches and dents and bruises and things that I thought were just whatever. And He said, no, they were actually vaccines. They were actually experiences that are used to bless you and bless other people. And all of a sudden, as He's doing this, He's renewing me. I think that there's this renewal that happens with the people in our circle. And that's when all of a sudden I think the wound of betrayal starts to be like made right, because we come back into right relationship with the Lord. And I think that that's what we're seeing in such amazing ways through the work that we get to do. Is we're almost all of the people who lead our programs have terrible traumas in their life. Almost all of them.
Yeah.
And yet all of them are saying there's purpose in pain, there's hope after trauma, God never wastes a wound, these kinds of phrases. And I think they're starting to see how this experience prepared them for that experience. You know, they're starting to see the connection between the two.
Yeah.
And it's just really, I think that's my favorite part of what I get to see, is to be like, you felt so betrayed and so abandoned and neglected and hurt and lost and guilt and all these things. You felt all these deep soul wounds that were caused when trauma entered your life, when your life personally intersected with the brokenness of the world. So that's what we say is like, what do we say? We say trauma is your personal intersection with the brokenness of the world, but recovery is your personal intersection with the redemptive heart of God. And so that's like the phrases of what we do.
Nice.
That's the two bookends, if you will.
Right.
And
okay, so to jump on something you said earlier, do you feel like people that sit amongst you guys, even yourself, do you feel like a lot of times when we're looking for people to begin to be transformed, do you feel like the transformation happens more so inside of you, to where you see those people differently even if they never transform?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because most people, there's no support groups for abusers.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no group sitting around people being like, yeah, you know, I just, physically used this girl and I emotionally wounded her and I broke her heart. That's the 8th one this year that I've just broken her heart. And man, I just feel terrible. And I came to this group to get help. That group doesn't exist.
Right.
That group does not exist. That person just keeps right on hurting, leaving a trail of wounded people behind them.
For sure.
And so in my life, it's 100%. The person has to basically say, Lord, I'm giving that person over to you. I can't bring about justice. I can't make it right. But I'm going to say, I'm not going to let someone who doesn't know my value tell me what I'm worth. I'm not going to let that person begin to dictate my future just because they had a short-term voice in my past. And then all of a sudden, you start to put that person where they belong, which is way down the list of priorities, way down the list of voices you should care about, versus most of us, when that person betrays us, hurts us, abandons us, neglects us, wounds us, whatever, abuses us, that person's voice is number one on the list.
Come on. Yes.
Right? And it's like, why? Why is it we're giving this person such a huge authority in our life that they didn't deserve when they were there? They certainly don't deserve it now that they're not there.
For sure.
And I think that by basically saying like, silence to that, acknowledgement of a new voice, a better voice, a true voice, a loving voice, both from peers and from the Lord down to me, then all of a sudden now I have the strength to go back and speak to that voice. Yeah. And I don't have to, I have to forgive it. Yeah. I may not be able to reconcile with it. I can make every effort to reconcile. I believe the Spirit says that. The Holy Spirit tells us to do that in Scripture. I believe the writings say that. But yeah, I think the change is almost always to us and then through us is how I would describe it.
That's good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
I think first the changes come to us, and then over time we internalize them, and now they can come through us to other people. Yeah. Like a giant holy L.
Yeah, no. And, you know, it's funny, as you said that, I thought about how, like, it goes back to what you said earlier about how, like, there are people who sometimes are looking for that comfort from the wrong people, and they are keeping that door open and the access available to be able to get the comfort from the person who hurt them the most.
That's right.
And it's almost like it goes back to what you said earlier. I'm waiting on them to finally come back and recognize their own and now apologize because I'm expecting that. Yeah, okay.
You're going to wait forever. I mean, how often does that really happen?
Yeah, no, you're right. At least not right off. Even if it does happen. Rare.
Super rare. It takes a pretty emotionally, spiritually, and mentally mature person to come to you and own that. And there's just not that many of us out there.
Yeah. No.
I'm just saying.
I would
Even in my heart, man, when I've wronged somebody, man, it is so hard to be like, I'm going to own it. I'm going to go to it. I'm going to go to this person and say, here's how I've wronged you. And that is a hard discipline. That is a hard discipline.
That almost means that you have a level of self-awareness to where you recognize, despite how that person feels, that like, I can't live with this. And you're right. That is not something that just falls out when people find themselves in these spaces. That's so true.
1 Corinthians, I mean, godly sorrow leads to repentance, right? Or it doesn't. Sorrow of the world leads to death. I mean, that's it in a nutshell right there. I mean, I want to lead towards repentance. I want to feel that conviction. But a lot of people that don't know Jesus, and even some that have known him, they're so far away from him, they can't even hear his convicting voice. They can't even hear it. Yeah. So he's shouting to them saying, please recognize the harm you're doing, recognize the hurt you're causing. And we can't even hear it. And I think for me, the times when I've been most far away from the Lord, I don't know it. And the reason I don't know is because I'm far enough away I can't hear him anymore.
Facts.
When I'm close to him, I think this is how Paul's able to say that he's the chief of sinners. How is he able to say that? It's because he's so close to the Lord. Yeah. He's walking so daily with them that he's seeing all of his incongruencies in what he wants to do, he doesn't do, and what he does, he doesn't want to. He's seeing all of this. He's seeing purity versus him. He's seeing righteousness versus him. He's seeing sanctification and justification versus what he's doing. He's seeing this A-B comparison, and he's saying, I don't measure up. Right. But what's funny is, if we get a little ways from the Lord, we don't notice those incongruencies. We're like, yeah, I mean, you don't see the perfection anymore. That's just who I am. I think that's the scariest thing for me is like when I'm far away from the Lord, I never seem to know it. It's like I'm always like, I always have to have a moment where something happens and I'm like, oh man,
I got too far.
I did it again. Yeah. I got too far out on the leash. I didn't even know I was off the leash. Sometimes. Yeah. And I think for me, that's the thing. I'm trying. One of my prayers all the time is like, Lord, make me quick to take a knee. Don't have to like Job me. Don't make me have to Jonah me. Don't make me have to be swallowed by a whale just to get my attention. Yeah. Make me be able to, you whisper, I take my knee. Yeah. Like I want a gentle shepherd's nudge. I don't want to have to be beaten with the rod. You know what I'm saying? Sure. Beaten with the staff. But I'm afraid sometimes I'm so stupid and stubborn that the Lord has to make me lie down in green pastures.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? He has to make me do it. I won't do it on my own accord because I'm a stupid sheep. And I think just praying to the Lord all the time, like we pray with our kids, like help them be humble enough to be like, when you whisper, they're like, stop. What? Okay, Lord, what do I need to do? Yeah. And that's good. That's not where I live. I wish I lived there all the time.
Yeah, no, that's real. That is so real, and you're right. It is a lot better to back into his first call on your life than continue to run with him yelling in the background, especially when you can hear him and you getting further and further away from his voice to where you don't hear it anymore. Because it's a lot easier to live by your own standards and your own plan when his voice is not there to say, "What are you doing?"
That's it
for sure. Oh man,
you ever heard the analogy where it's like Jesus starts off as the driver when you first get saved, then he becomes the passenger, which is where now you're in charge, but you let him navigate sometimes. And then eventually, after a while, he moves to the backseat. You ever heard this? Yeah. And then it's like he still can navigate from time to time, but you're like, Jesus, shh, backseat driver, stop telling me where to go. Like, I got this. I'm in charge now. Right. And then pretty soon you don't realize he's not even in the backseat anymore. He's in the trunk. He's just a spare tire you pull out for emergencies. Oh, he's just the Lord you go to when it's like, I'm desperate, Lord. Right. And I think for me, it's like, man, I used to think that process took weeks and months. That process can take like a day. Yeah. In one day, I can go straight from he was driving to now he's a spare tire. Jeez. And I think me just becoming really aware of that has changed the way I think about mental health and trauma too, because I feel like when I'm sorting out really strong emotions or when I'm dealing with loss, not loss of somebody necessarily, but loss of optimism, loss of hope, loss of a dream, death of a dream, death of a future as I envisioned it. Whatever it is that I'm grieving in that moment, I think my tendency is to be a little bit like Mary and Martha when they're like, "Where are you, God? If you were here, this thing wouldn't have died." And I think that my tendency is to be like, oh, well, he's right here. He's driving my car. When maybe sometimes I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe it's because he's been in the trunk and I haven't had that dialogue with him because he is here, and I'm not even picking up. I'm not even seeing him in the loss. I'm just seeing the loss. That's all I can. I'm like blinded to the thing that I had created as a micro idol in my life. And when that's taken away, man, I think that's some of the hardest times for me to hear the voice of the Lord, because I'm angry, I'm frustrated. And usually I've created that thing. I've built that thing up to be so important that he wasn't in charge anyway.
Yeah.
And then that's when I get stuck in the why trap. God,
yeah,
I thought this is what you laid on my heart. Jeez. I thought you were calling me to this. I thought you were going to come through. Why? And then the wound of betrayal. We already talked about that. Comes up. Yeah. Lord, you betrayed me. You let me down. These people let me down. Why aren't you? And you see this in the Psalms. I mean, how many times is David's like, how long, O Lord?
Yeah.
It's like every freaking Psalm. The next one, he'll be like, not only how long, but then he'll say, Lord, my enemies continue to do this. Why won't you punish them?
Right.
And that's how I feel. Like, how long, Lord? Like, you betrayed me, but also these people, they don't get me. Lord, like, why?
Right.
And that's when I just get, and then ultimately that results, if I'm not careful, in self-pity,
Right.
And self-pity. There's a pastor I listened to the other day out of Tampa, Florida. He said this phrase, and I'll shut up after this. He said,
no.
He said this phrase, and bro, I told my son this, and I was like, this is super hurtful, but it's true. He said, winners think about winning. He's like, you know what losers think about? And I was like, losing, right? And he goes, nope, losers think about winners. And when he said that, I was like, bro, how true. I just broke my mic stand, homie.
And dropped the mic all at the
I
same
legit
time.
broke my mic stand. Anyway, like, I was like, you're right. When I'm winning, I'm thinking about winning. But when I'm losing, all I can see is other people who are winning.
Yeah.
All I can see is where I'm not winning anymore and where they are. And that's the why questions. It's like, why, Lord? Why won't you give me my heart's desire? Why won't you? And then I start pulling over into the shoulder, being like, if you could just tell me why, like, how much longer I'm going to be here until I can get it.
Right.
And he's like, no, I don't even want you to take the path of going towards that. You're never going to get it. That's what the Lord's been doing in me right now, is changing the way I view people, my expectation of others. Number one, slowing my responses when I don't feel like they're meeting my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But number three is, I think, acknowledging the times that acknowledging when I feel let down by the Lord or by other people, and reframing that from a why question, which often in my case leads to self-pity and victimhood,
right,
into like a okay, what now question. And I think for me, I'm finding that process really therapeutic and really beneficial, and keeps me out of this cycle of feeling like God gives me these big dreams and I'm going to do this big thing, and all of a sudden it's like, psych, like, no, it didn't happen.
Gotcha.
Crap. Now what again,
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Lord's teaching me right now, is just to sort of reframe those pieces. And yeah,
I can imagine that being a little frustrating sometimes. Of like, God, the second I get comfortable, the second I feel like I see what you're doing, that's right, it's almost like, okay, now it's time to move on from that. I've left that already. Why are you still, almost like what he used to tell Samuel, I've left that already. Why are you still there? You can stay as long as you want, but I'm not there anymore.
That's right.
And when you become accustomed to doing everything with Christ, there is no, well, I'll stay here then if you want to keep going. It's almost like, I got to move with you, and this is not what my plan was. How do I tell my family this?
And maybe that's not even where I was supposed to be going. Maybe that was just going to get me to where I was supposed to go anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times do we see in Scripture where it's like a person had to go through a place to get to the place where God actually had them? Like, I was just reading Woman in the Well story the other day. Jesus had to take them through Samaria.
That's good. Come with that. Yeah.
I was like, he had to go through Samaria, it says, to get to the woman at the well.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to, like, the woman at the well was the destination, but he thought it was just he was describing it, the Scripture is, as if it was like a passing place.
Right.
And I was like, how many of us need to walk through our Samarias? Like, how many of us need to...
Even when it's uncomfortable, because it was uncomfortable for all the disciples. They were like, but
they left him. Why they left him and went and got food.
Yeah,
that's what it says. It says they left and went and got food. That's legit, like saying, like, hey, Jesus, you go minister to these people. I'm going to go hit up the Cracker Barrel. Right. Like, that's basically what they did.
Right.
I think Cracker Barrels were probably around back then. That chain's been here since, like, some of their buildings look like they've been here since then too, man. Sorry, Cracker Barrel lovers.
So this crossed my mind. With those things that you were talking about earlier, what tools do you keep in like your tool bag that help you through like a lot of different situations you go through, different times where you recognize, oh snap, I gotta go and like because in your space of mental health, I know that it is always about having tools,
right? Things
that you can go to, things that are yours specifically, or other people use them, but like you've chosen those few tools. Like, these are my main tools. What would you say are those for you?
Yeah. Well, in football, there's a thing they teach quarterbacks when they throw an interception to have a short memory. You ever hear that? Like, you gotta have a short memory. Throw a pick, you got to move on.
Yeah.
You can't go out there thinking about the interception you just threw again.
Right.
I try to keep a short memory, not just of times when I get in the car and you're like, man, I should have said this, but I didn't, or I should have asked this question this way, right? Like that. We replay the conversations.
Yeah.
But also a short memory of, because of the nature of my job, I hear, and our staff hears, some of the worst stories you could possibly imagine. Stories that are of extreme violence. Like, we're working very closely with leaders in Ukraine right now. Stories of capturing villages and lining women up and raping them one at a time. I mean, stories that are vivid from people. Hearing stories of working with a young lady right now who was held hostage and was brutally brutalized. That's the word I'm going to use for sake of listeners. Working with soldiers who watched special needs children die because of accidental ID explosions. And, these types of stories, when you're absorbing them day in and day out, and you not only just hear them, it's not like you're hearing them from a person on a stage. You're hearing them from somebody you love. You're hearing them from somebody you care about, and you're seeing the pain in their eyes. You have to have a short memory. If you carry those stories, if you get so empathetic that you can't realize that their story is not your story, that their story is their story.
Yeah.
That's something that in the early years of Reboot, from like 2010 to 2015, 2014, Jenny and I both started to have secondary trauma responses. We were having nightmares. We were having panic and anxiety issues. We were having depression issues and mood swings. We were starting to have eating issues. Couldn't sleep at night. We started to have all these symptoms, and we're like, what's going on? And then it kind of dawned on us, well, of course we know what's going on. We're absorbing all of this, and we're dwelling on it, and we're praying, and we're contending so hard with these people that you can't do that on scale. So I think for us, I've gotten a lot better at hearing, showing empathy in the moment, genuine curiosity, genuine care and concern, and then saying, okay, Lord, I can't heal this person. I'm passing the rest of their story off to you.
Sheesh,
and having a short memory. That's something that I've worked really hard on, and it's taken 15 years to develop the ability to show, because it's not callousness, it's not jadedness.
Yeah.
It's still genuine love and curiosity, but also a short memory.
Yeah.
So that's tool number one.
Sheesh. Yeah.
Tool number.
Dropped the mic on that one.
Tool number two for me has been making sure that our family gathers for dinner together as a family almost every night. We don't split off and divide into different places. We eat dinner as a family. And that's so important because it's the place where we download. It's the place where we all talk about our wins for the day. We have questions that we ask almost every single day. What's something you're proud of that you did today? What's something you're learning today? We go around the table. Everybody answers their questions. That, for me, is my grounding spot.
Yeah.
It's the spot that brings me back to, if this is okay, then everything else can be okay.
Yeah.
This is what matters.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that's really important.
Yeah.
So that's a tool. And the third thing is, I don't know how to describe it. I think I am, I think that, and we talked about it a little bit, I am constantly consuming information and content. I'm listening to podcasts. I'm reading. I'm writing. Researching. I'm learning and asking people questions. I'm constantly trying to learn. And what I find is the Lord is so faithful. I don't have to retain the information. This is the thing I've found. I don't know how to describe this. It's very surreal. I'll hear something 3 days ago, and I'll remember it for like 7 days, and then I'll forget it. I won't remember it. But guess what happens in those 7 days?
What's that?
I was supposed to learn that so I could share it with this person, but then I didn't need to keep it.
Yeah.
I was just keeping it safe for a little while. I was holding on to it till I could give it to you or give it to somebody else, and then I can go. I don't have to kick it with me.
Wow.
I don't have to put it in my permanent. There's stuff I put in my permanent luggage.
Yeah.
But there's stuff that's just to carry on for an overnight stay.
Oh, come on.
And I just pack that up for a couple of days, carry it, and I'm like, Lord, at some point I'm gonna file that away. You're gonna need this, and somebody's gonna need this, and Lord, you're gonna use this in the next few days. And then I just wait for the moment when that was supposed to be deposited, and I'm just like a little carrier pigeon. I'm like a message in a bottle, man. Shove it in here. I'm gonna float along, drop it off for you. Then I'm gonna go with an empty bottle someplace else, ready for a new message.
Right.
And I think for me, like grabbing hold of those little messages and recognizing some are for me.
Yeah.
Those I need to keep.
Right.
Some are for other people. Those transactional, pass through. I'm just a messenger, and I think in doing that, that's allowed me to keep the ones that are just for me, and I don't have to share those.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. I'm actually sitting here now, like, you know what? I actually think I've done that, and mine is that they come up. I think I've completely forgot about that. I don't know where I heard it. Yeah. I don't even remember where, but all of a sudden I'll be talking to somebody and it'll slip out, and they'll be like, "Wow, that was good."
Like the Dewey Decimal System of your brain,
right?
Is filing,
right. It'll just fall out when it's supposed to, and I'm like, "Man, that was really good. I never thought I would actually ever quote
You're like,
that."
I am a genius. I'm amazing.
Honestly, I give more credit to him because I'm like, yo, that was so good.
That was so
like,
good.
can you keep doing that? Can you keep doing that? It was really good.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true.
No, that's awesome, man. Well, man, this has honestly been a awesome conversation, just of like listening to like just like I think what I'm so glad that I asked you about your tools, because there was one of them that you mentioned in the beginning that I'm sure one of my brothers is listening is like, that's it. That's what you needed, because I recognize it that when you sit here at this table and you listen to men's stories, when you stand in the gap for men, when you download with people, when you listen to the things they've gone through, sometimes it's heavy,
right,
to carry your own stuff and then carry their stuff now with them, and you don't recognize you're carrying it. But after some retreats, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm
gotta go lay down those rocks.
Yeah. It's a lot, and 100%. So I never thought about it from a standpoint of like you can be with them, but sometimes you have to also like almost like log that with God. Here you go, God. I'm logging that.
There's a crazy study. Look up. I think it's Galatians 6. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I quoted myself on that, so I guess I'm on the record thinking it's where it talks about carry one another's burden.
Yes.
And it's like carry one another's burden, thus fulfill the law of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And the next verse says, but each one must carry his own load. And so it's like it seems like it's contradicting itself, right? I mean, because in one verse, it's basically saying, here you go, verse 2, carry each other's burdens in the same way in this way you fulfill the law of Christ. If anyone thinks there's something when they're not, they deceive themselves. Each one should test their own actions, then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else, for each one should carry their own burden. You're like, and it's like, for God cannot be mocked. You're like, wait a minute, I don't understand. I thought we were carrying one another's burden, and then you're like, but each one must carry. And it's because there's two different Greek words there. One of them is a word picture of a type of burden that is too heavy to carry by yourself. It's just a heavy, heavy thing that no person can pick up.
Right.
The other one, though, is a type of burden that only they can carry, because it's like something worn on the head, or it's something specific. So, for example, like I can't carry the burden of your salvation. I can't be responsible for if you're going to get saved or not.
Yeah.
I can carry, though, if you are feeling heartbroken after a loss.
Yeah.
That's too heavy for you to carry by yourself.
Yeah.
But the load of your salvation, you're going to have to be responsible for the day of eternity for just you.
Facts.
I can't get you in.
Facts.
Right. I don't have any more tickets.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Only by the grace of God did I get one. And
it was funny because that came up as a joke the other day where I was like, there is no +1 with
there's no +1. Yeah, there's no +1. And so I just think that's the thing is, like you were saying, some burdens, I think you as a minister, me as a minister, people who are watching can be like, hey, I could tell that's too heavy. Let me carry that with you. Mm-hmm. But some I'm like, you know what? This is yours to carry.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in doing so, you're going to build up spiritual muscles that if I take this for you and carry it, I'll rob you of the muscles that you're going to need in the future.
Ooh, sheesh.
I'll get the I come in and I steal your muscle.
Yeah.
And I get it.
Yeah.
And man, I feel great.
Yeah.
But those muscles weren't mine. Those muscles were meant for you.
Wow.
And now I came in trying to be the hero, save the day, and I robbed you of the resilience of the future.
Yeah.
And that's not a service to you.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, that's where I've really had to learn, like, Lord, this is their burden to carry. I'm going to listen. I'm going to show empathy. I'm going to show love. I'm going to give them tools and resources and coach them. And some am I going to walk through some stuff with for a month, a week, a year, maybe so. Some I will just have one conversation with. And I have to trust, like, Lord, you're developing something in them, some muscles they're going to need.
Yeah.
Help me not be so prideful that I think I have to rob them of that.
Wow.
And that's totally changed the way we minister to people. You know what I mean?
Come on. Yeah. Wow. Man. This is going to be an awesome relationship of just you coaching me towards.
Well, I told you everything that I know.
Wait, is that just?
It didn't even play anything. There it is. Yeah.
Everything you know.
The laughter. Yeah.
Oh, but no, man, this has been awesome, man. It's cool.
Good,
I'm gonna get you back down here with some Bojangles chicken after you try that blueberry biscuit.
If you come back, I want to eat Bojangles on the show.
Let's do it.
I want grease to be all up in
I was just about to say I'm probably going to cover the mice, but let's do it.
They put like a plastic cover on a plastic baggie.
Right.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool also to measure our cholesterol in real time. Like just do a blood draw before and a blood draw at the end of the show.
You don't want to do that. Now that wouldn't be fair to you and the enjoyment of the chicken.
Bojangles chicken.
No, you can't watch that no. But it'll truly be. I mean, like we'll make sure we put all the southern cuisines down here. I mean, you're in Tennessee, so you know about.
I know.
You know about like
South.
buffalo. I mean, or what is it? Barbecue. I mean, you're
of course
y'all know barbecue, but like we have some delicacies here that you guys don't know. Delicacies, the delicacy of Bojangles, Bohanglish.
First off, is that Spanish?
Yes, it is. It sounds a lot richer.
What would the French version be like?
Bohanglish.
Yeah, Bohanglish. Oh my gosh. Well, man, this is an awesome thing, and I'm just so grateful that you're. I think the hardest part of our ministry is working with men.
Yeah.
In terms of they process things differently, and sometimes not at all.
Yeah.
And so I just think just so much props out to you, and so much grace to you and to the people who tune into this. There's such a huge need, and so I'm just really honored to be here. Thanks for having me. No,
thank you for coming. I didn't see the night turning this way, but I'm so glad it did. I'm so glad we got to sit down. I'm so glad we got to process through things, not only before but even here. This was
so good.
This was good. This was good. Well, so that people could, you've told them a little bit about Reboot. Share with them a little bit of the details on how they can even tap in with your ministry to see what you're doing, and even like get more information if they want to become a disciple of Reboot. Is it cool to call it a leader?
Yeah, a leader.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
They're all leaders. Yeah, every person's a leader, whether
Okay.
they're leading 1 people or 50 people. They're a leader.
Nice.
Find something. If you're not a leader yet, someone's following you. You just don't notice it. So everybody's a leader. So I would say, rebootrecovery.com or any social channel. Hit us up. You can lead a course. It's easy. We give you the curriculum, the videos, the coaching, the training, the support. You can do it like churches. Small groups are a great place to do them. Military bases, first responder, precinct halls, teen groups, you name it. We want to support them to be able to do young adults ministry, whatever it is. We want to support them to do that. And right now there's about 400 and 20 locations going on around the world, 15 countries, 48 states, and we just about to cross our 30,000th person that's graduated Reboot, which is truly incredible. Awesome. So you wouldn't be alone. My point is, you know, there's a lot of track record to prove this is safe for you and your church to do.
Right.
The other thing is, if you say, man, I want to learn more about this though before I dive in, you can go to Amazon and buy Jenny and I's book. It's called Healing What's Hidden, and you can go buy that book, read it, and if you turn the last page and think, man, this guy and this lady, they're saying what's true, and I want to share this with other people, Reboot makes it really, really easy to do that.
Nice.
And that's our vision, is to mobilize the largest faith-based response to trauma and suicide that's ever been built. And we can't do that with just she and I and a few people. It's got to take a whole lot of us stepping up and saying, hey, I can help. And I believe if you're listening to this right now and you're feeling that spirit, that stir, we want to support you. If not, buy the book, Healing What's Hidden, on Amazon, and check it out.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. It's funny. I couldn't help but sit there as I was listening to y'all. I was like, man, this is perfect for those people who, as we were talking about, like college degrees earlier, like have that degree where they're just like, I would love to be. And this is totally. Even speaking to me of like, you know what? I would love to have been a counselor. I would love to go back and get this. It's like, yeah, well, like. I can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. And if you want to really help people, if you want to encourage
start
people,
right away.
It's like, let me empower you. Let me provide what you need. Let me get that wind up underneath your wings so you can get out here and really be able to meet people where they're at. Because I think that's the most important piece of like, yeah, not where you want them to be, but where they're at. Meet them with what they're going through. And it's truly a fulfilling thing. It's I personally see it myself, even when I sit with people, of like, I'm not there yet. Like maybe this might be the opportunity for me to be bridged in, but like I truly, it fulfills me to serve people in that way. And I think that's just a blessing. I think that's a blessing to be able to meet people where they're at, what they're going through, even though you know you're not perfect and you have your own stuff that you've been through. So, and
I've done a lot of different small group ministries in my life. I'm not saying this because I work for Reboot. That's not why I'm saying it. I don't think I've ever seen. You want to see God move in mighty ways, be on the front lines of ministry. This is the front lines. This is it. This is where the combats happen. This is where the spiritual warfare is happening. This is where the life changes happen. This is where literally it is life and death for people who are battling mental health issues. Your faith will grow not because of fear. Your faith will grow because you will see God move in ways you've never seen it before. And it is time and time again. That's what our leaders tell us. They're like, man, I can't believe I didn't do this for 40 years of my faith journey. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Jeez,
you know, and we hear that time and time again. And leaders, a lot of them been leading for 3, 4, 5 years, and they just can't get enough. They just keep going because it's like, once you see that, it's like having just a delicious Bojangles. You know, you just can't shake it. You know, you can't ever go back. The
nerve of you to say that when you haven't had it just yet. I'm telling you. You wait. I'll make sure there's Bojangles, at least some Bowberry biscuits
at
Zaxby's.
Your room. And you know how they have salads at Zaxby's? What's that about?
I feel like literally like Noah just crashed their whole interview when you said Zaxby's. I feel like he just swooped in. It was like Zaxby's.
What about Zaxby's? Why do they have salads? What's up with that? They start with a Z everything?
Yeah, well,
they don't have like Zoft drinks.
They don't. but maybe they will after hearing this. We might have to pick that up from that guy. Like Zoft drinks. That's the new thing. But yeah, no, I mean, but Noah loves Zaxby's. I know he does. Okay, so yeah.
Get it?
Was that a shout out for him?
I know he does. Noah does. Never mind. That was a Noah shout out. I did bring up Zaxby's just for Noah.
I don't have a
yeah, that's rough. No, he does.
Well, no, this has been awesome. I'm so good. Like I said, I'm so glad we made this happen.
It's amazing.
We'll have to do this again in the future. Maybe next time it'll be over a computer. But regardless, I'm excited that
I'm down, man. Any day.
Just to sit with me and for us to be able to make this happen. So, with that said, hey, thank you guys for tuning in today. Thank you guys for always rocking with us. Thank you. I truly thank you because I recognize this is a gift of men offering their vulnerability. They're offering their tools. They're offering their time. But there's also that moment of where you're just kind of like, man, I received that today. I needed that today. That was encouraging. And I appreciate Evan like I said, just driving all the way from Tennessee just for me and some Bojangles, you know, and he's gonna do this thing tomorrow too. But like, I appreciate him.
No, this is good, man.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you again for another great episode. I want to leave you guys with a reminder from my friend and brother, the late great Chad Height. You know, my brother from the Rabbit Hole Show, who always used to leave you guys with an encouraging message that I want to continue to keep going. Of the good news is that, hey, listen, we all have a story. We all have struggles, but the good news is that God is still with you. You're not alone in your story, and know that he will continue to walk with you as long as you continue to invite him on the journey. So, hey, you guys be blessed. Love you. We'll talk to you again soon. Go ahead, hit it.
And that wraps up another episode of God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. I'm Justin Moore, and we want to give a huge thank you to all of you for tuning in and being part of our community. Your support means the world to us, and we hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as we did. If what you heard resonated with you, please consider subscribing or leaving a review on today's video. It really helps us reach more listeners like you. Don't forget to connect with us on social media at God's Glory and Men's Real Stories for updates, new episode clips, and to share your thoughts on today's episode. We love hearing from you. If this conversation happened to shed a light on past experiences of yours that may have been happy moments or maybe hurtful moments, feel free to keep the conversation going in the comments below, so as a community we can listen, pray with you, or point you to helpful resources. Join us next time for another great episode, and until then, let's give God the glory for all he's doing in our stories.